You are listening to the Lucha Central Podcast Network. And now, Lucha Central Weekly.
Hello and welcome to another edition of the Lucha Central Weekly Podcast. This is the podcast that lets you know all of the latest happening in the world of Lucha Libre. Each week, our team discusses news and events from this past week, as well as previewing the week ahead, covering Mexico-based promotions and top independents, along with luchador-related news from throughout the United States. The Lucha Central Weekly Podcast is part of the Lucha Central Podcast Network on luchacentral.com. This podcast and others from the network are also available on all major podcast platforms, including iTunes, Google Play, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Speaker, and Podbay. My name is Miranda Morales, and I'm one of the co-hosts of the Lucha Central Weekly Podcast. Let's bring in the other team members. Introducing first, he is the dashing one, Mr. Dusty Murphy.
Hey.
Yeah, how's it going?
It's going great. How's it going for you, Miranda?
I am doing very, very well. This week has been crazy in the world of Lucha Libre. I know we're going to get into it for a second, but literally we have news from everywhere, which is a rarity for us. And so we can't do it without the third member of our team. Who am I talking about? Who is it? It is the one and only Brendan Barr.
That's who.
Hey, how we doing?
Busy. I mean, just looking at, we literally have news from at least every top U.S. promotion. Lots of, the top Mexico-based promotions, at least one of them. I mean, literally a lot going on. So, I'm very excited for that. But speaking of what's going on, we are recording this a few days before Valentine's Day, which is on a Sunday this year, which is also the same day as NXT Vengeance Day. And mainly, I just went on a rant on it as far as what a missed opportunity. I mean, Vengeance Day is a pay-per-view name that they have used already, their own pay-per-view. Why did they not go with St. Valentine's Day Massacre? Why? Why?
It's a mystery to me. Like, it's such a natural fit and such a cool throwback, and it's so cool for NXT. Way cooler than Vengeance Day. Right?
And it, NXT has been killing it with the callbacks, on the previous WCW pay-per-views. And I think there's a deep fan base that loves St. Valentine's Day Massacre. Primarily, one, because it was one of the few pay-per-views out in the UK. And two, it was one of those unique themes that you didn't get to see anymore, or we don't see at all anymore. And even the poster for that, it was a little quirky, but it's fun. It's one of the posters you remember seeing of Vince McMahon with, the flowers and the thorns and but it's just really iconic. And if anyone can do justice to St. Valentine's Day Massacre, it would have been NXT. Maybe because they're not having a cage match, but then that just means they should just have a cage match.
Yeah, absolutely. There's always room for a cage match.
And it's really not hard to find two people that will be entertaining in a cage match in any of the NXTs. So, yeah.
It's true.
Yes.
And didn't Mankind and The Rock have the Last Man Standing match?
Yeah, I
yes.
think so.
Yeah. That was good.
The bad news is there were a lot of Last Man Standing matches this week. So maybe that was a wise call on their part.
True. Real quick, Jim, your favorite Valentine's Day candy. Halloween is pretty infamous for candy, but I think the second day out of the year for good candy is Valentine's Day.
Oh, it's true. I really like the Reese's that are shaped like hearts. They just feel fresher than the regular Reese's for some reason. I just like, yeah. And I really like the coconut Ferrero Rochers too.
Ooh,
Those are
yeah, Ferrero
excellent.
Rochers. It's fancy when someone busts out the Ferrero Rocher. It's a good commitment level when someone is busting out the Ferrero Rocher.
Right?
It's a serious relationship
It's true.
right there.
That is the discussion I have, is that what am I saying if I buy these Ferrero Rocher? What have I committed to?
You might as well buy a ring, because at that point, that's what you're saying. Is we're going to be together forever, because I'm not getting you no Hershey Kisses. I'm not getting you the Smarties or, the Sweet Tart Hearts. I'm getting you the fancy candy.
Yeah.
Right?
The $12 box.
Oh, man, we're just having way too much fun. Way too much fun.
We're only getting started.
And we're only getting started. As I mentioned, we literally have news from pretty much every major U.S. promotion this week had something related to Lucha Libre, which is fantastic. We also have some Mexico-based news for you, and lots more. So let's kick it off with the road back to shows with Brendan.
Okay, I gotta scroll my notes back up. I got ahead of myself here. Guess what though? Mexico City, still red. Still red. We, stay at home kids, have your, stay in Valentine's Day. I mean, hopefully you can do that. If you don't have somebody to do that, there's, NXT on television. Watch some good wrestling instead. Wrestling promotion DTU, who we've talked about many times, especially enjoying the aesthetic that they were using for the early parts of the lockdown, they have announced that they are going on an indefinite hiatus. There's some speculation as to that. There's been some leadership issues with with hands changing recently, COVID and a shortage of money. I think they're just generally thinking that even though they were probably one of the leaders for doing good, safe shows and getting lots of eyes on their product, it's probably just easier for them to close down, let the wrestlers know that they're not gonna be able to get that work there, so they can find something else, and then hopefully they restart as things start getting more normalized. But that is the big business news out of any of those. That's the first one that's really formally announced they're not going to be doing shows until further notice. And more COVID news. Frequent luchador that we speak about on the show, Danny Limelight, went on social media and released that he also has tested positive recently for COVID. The last time he was on TV was on AEW Dark, and then I believe that was he's done with that. He did film a tag team with Chris Dickinson that will be airing very soon on New Japan Strong, I believe. Let me check the date. Yeah, that will be when this episode is supposed to go up, Friday. That match will go up, and then hopefully that will buy him just enough time for him to quarantine and get back to taping. So hopefully we talk about seeing him on Dark or some other show very soon. Speaking though of shows and running things, which is I love that they have the bravery to do this. I hope this show goes off. IWC Legacy is running a show in Denver, Colorado. And on the poster, they've got Hijo del Santo, Rocky Romero, Ray Leon, Matt Cross, Hijo de Dos Caras. So, it's gonna be a big show if it goes off. Santo, Cubs fan pointed out that he believes Hijo del Santo has worked more U.S. dates in the last 2 years than Mexican dates. So he may have some sort of arrangement going on. We don't know enough about his personal life, but if he's been working that much lately and he's scheduling to work now, where it's a little hard to come across the border, maybe we might see more of him in the lockdown, which is just bizarre, but I'm there for that.
Yeah, that's exciting.
Mm-hmm.
And we've kind of seen that with the luchadors that are able to either live on this side of the border or get a work permit on this side of the border, that they have had consistently more work. Just look at Pentagon and Phoenix.
Yeah.
And
yeah, as we were talking about before with Pentagon, he seems to be having troubles when he has to come back from Mexico. So when he stays here, though, he's fine. So, maybe he should just stay in Florida, the Khan family bill for a little while. That'd be nice.
Yeah.
All of us should sign up for being on that Khan family bill. If there's is there a sign up sheet? Like, how do we get into that? Anybody know?
I mean, I have heard a little bit about that from some of my friends, but most of them just stay down there over the couple days they're working and then go back home. So
yes,
I don't know if they're invited to just camp out at the stadium or anything. That would be, I don't know, it'd be kind of fun for a little while.
For a little bit, then you get tired of that and you want to go home. So I get it. Just wonder if anybody knew. If anybody knows what's the Khan family hookup, reach out to us.
I don't think that if they've got the hookup, they're going to reach out to us, but please do if you can. That'd be great. I've got some more Blue Demon Jr. stuff. So, he's been doing lots of interviews between this Ultraviolet and Blue Demon TV show. He's been talking with the entertainment media, and then when he's running for mayor, he's talking with the news media down there. So he's suddenly all over the news, which is fantastic for me. He said about the Ultraviolet and Blue Demon show, he said the first season is slated to be 10 to 12 episodes. And then there's some speculation that I got from other places that says, Triple Mania is usually late August or September. So, that would mean that he's probably not going to be there for that, but, who knows? And then on running for mayor, he says he would, some of the things he wants to do is he wants to open a gallery in Mexico, even a souvenir shop in Los Angeles. He's got a 3-point plan for the county, which is based on health, health, safety, and economic reactivation. So, I mean, those are standard things you would want a politician to say that they want to do. So he seems to be well grounded there. Yeah. He also said in one of those interviews that it's not important for the people of Gustavo A. Madero to know his real name because most of them probably couldn't name the current mayor. So
he's not wrong. I mean, how many people can really name the mayor of their own cities? I feel that's a really, really good point. It doesn't, his popularity is as Blue Demon, even almost that respect and admiration is with Blue Demon. So I agree. I don't see what the relevance would be as far as a name is a name in the sense that, he does seem to have a political platform, ideas and thoughts on, how to help small businesses generate revenue, it's somewhat of a, forward thinking mindset. And what does that matter if he wears a mask or not, or if he, is called by his real name or not?
Yeah. I mean, as long as they're able to fill out the legal paperwork, then the people would probably be more excited about civics and politics by having a name like Blue Demon involved rather than Joe Smith or whatever the equivalent of that would be. So, I mean, yeah, I agree with his sentiment. I like that his vision is clear on that he doesn't feel that he needs to do anything to clear that up unless there's legal paperwork involved. So yeah, I'm still very excited for this election, and it's another year away. So we will have lots of updates though, because like I said, he's between Ultraviolet and Blue Demon and running for mayor. He's going to be in front of the microphones a lot, and he seems like he's the kind of fellow that has a lot to say.
Yeah.
Um,
And I believe they just clarified the law down there that they could run under their lucha names and with their masks on.
I couldn't confirm or deny that, which is why I hadn't said anything on it, but that is my understanding, yeah. So there you have it, folks. We believe that's true, that they clarified it and you should be able to do it. If we're wrong, we'll let you know in a couple of weeks, and if we're right, we'll probably talk about that a whole lot too.
Yeah, very exciting.
And then my last story for the road back is about Zelina Vega, and I guess we can go back to calling her Thea Trinidad now. The no-compete clause that the WWE usually has standard expired this week. Some people in the news were trying to downplay it, saying that nobody really seemed interested. But generally speaking, negotiations happen behind closed doors. So, keep your ears open to in this spot, because we all love her on this show. So we're going to be sure to tell you if she turns up somewhere, or even if she's just going to be like an instructor somewhere, because even if they don't want to put her in front of the camera, any of these places that are using ladies wrestlers right now would benefit from her knowledge for teaching. So she has lots of options here. But with her no compete up, it could literally be any week. Like, I was holding my breath thinking maybe she'd turn up on Impact this week, because that's where I think she would have the biggest effect. But we'll see. We will see. And then, ROH had some announcements, but I'm going to make you wait till later in the show, because we've got a whole ROH segment where we can talk about that kind of stuff. So I'm going to switch now to the Indie Roundup, where we have a couple of things this week. I was unable to get results of it because it went up while I was doing my pre-show prep, but Chaos was live streaming an event. I got the notification while I was prepping my notes, so hopefully I will have results for you on that for next week's show. There was Mas Lucha put up a couple of new events just yesterday for Mexa Wrestling. So again, I don't have I didn't want to just do a hurried one on that, but I should have results on that coming up very soon. And then I still have a quick recap of some Lucha Time action. They on the Mas Lucha channel, they put up another episode. I could tell it was a little older because there were some people in the crowd, and they just vaguely remember this. They were having sort of a versus show where they had people from other promotions coming and so mixing the card up a little bit. So you had a quick match between Gamela Muerte and Hermoso Jr., who was representing Costa Rican wrestling, which was Lucha Libre Evolution. It was like I said, it was a quick match. Gamela Muerte managed to hit the classics double stomp moonsault combo that I've seen a number of luchadors do for a quick, easy win. We had a match with a four-way match with Rodrigo, Dragon King, also from Costa Rica origin, and Baby Extreme. And Dragon King got to win that one with a really crazy looking driver that might have been a backbreaker. I couldn't see what all happened on it. There was a lot going on, but it was very cool looking. And Dragon King has a cool dragon graphic when he comes out that even the announcers were excited by. So I think they want to put him on TV more, and I hope they do. And we had a tag team match with Punk Clown and Fulgore against Alex Black and King Lion. Punk Clown and Alex Black have been working a program for a while, so this was more about the two of them kind of getting in the ring with each other, and that's where the finish was at, where Alex Black hits a really good spear on Punk Clown, gets the 1-2-3, but then afterwards King Lion and Fulgore start beefing with each other, and if my Spanish is good enough, I think we're going to see a match between them in the near future. And you get to the main event, and for those of you who have been keeping track of my Lucha Time reviews, this is usually where things go crazy. They have at least one occasion cleared out the entire locker room and just had them yelling at each other and brawling and all of that. So I was expecting quite a bit, and I was not disappointed. We had a 6-man match with Mafioso, Toxin, and Hijo del Espectro against Epidemus, Hijo de Dos Caras, and the Mummy. The match breaks down at some point. You have a lot of brawling. You have topes taking people out, and then you have the Mummy landing an armbar on Mafioso, and Mafioso looks like he's about to submit, but then Dos Caras breaks it up, kicks his own man in the head, breaks the whole thing up. There's not a whole lot of confusion for very long because he starts high-fiving people on the outside, although when he goes, after he high-fives Hijo del Espectro, he then kicks him and hits him with a power bomb, and people from the back come out. So it looks like what's happening here is Hijo del Espectro and Mafioso are going to be a little bit more technico or face in the near future as they're repelling invaders to this promotion, because Hijo de Dos Caras and all of the visiting wrestlers seem to form a faction at the end of this. And then as they were about to cut a promo, King Charo comes out and clears the ring, and then King Charo, Mafioso, and Epidemus all raise their hands, and the crowd that wasn't really there, the micro crowd, kind of cheers. So really interesting setup. I'm curious to see where this is going, but who knows? I'm waiting for the point where they just stop showing this content because they ran out of things and had to stop recording. So, fingers crossed we get to see more on that. But that was, my road back to shows and my indie roundup.
Awesome. Thank you, Brendan. And now we're going to kick it off to Denise Salcedo, who brings us this week's Lucha Central.
Why should you visit thechairshot.com? Thechairshot.com is your home for hard-hitting reviews, news, opinion, and analysis with attitude. Why? Because you're smarter than the average fan. Thechairshot.com. Always use your head.
Hey everyone, it's Denise Salcedo here in Lucha Central with a reminder of where and when to catch all of the great network content this week. Get the full lineup and listen to all of our shows in the podcast network section of luchacentral.com. On Tuesdays, Mats, and Mayhem takes you inside the world of Lucha Underground as they take you weekly through the series with the benefit of hindsight and the benefit of special guests from the groundbreaking series. Check out the premiere video stream every Tuesday at 2 p.m. Pacific, 5 p.m. Eastern on the Lucha Central YouTube channel and at luchacentral.com. Then listen to it on your favorite podcast platform every Wednesday. Tuesday nights live, it's WrestleBoss, where Fabi Chulo talks MMA and pro wrestling with special guests and listener call-ins. Visit WrestleBossLive.com Tuesday nights at 7 p.m. Pacific to listen live or call in with questions or download the show on podcast platforms on Wednesdays. Wednesday nights live on Facebook, it's Spanish show La Mesa de los Márgaros, giving you both the news and the chisme from around the lucha world. Special guests and a whole lot of fun make it one of the most talked about shows in Mexico. Thursdays, it's straight out of the bodega with Papo Esco and PWR promoter Gabriel Ramirez, as they have guests from throughout the wrestling world pull up to give an inside look into their careers. From indie standouts to television superstars, each week brings a new name and perspective. On Friday, it's your double dose of Lucha Central Weekly podcast, one in English y el otro en español. Lucha Central Weekly is where you'll find all the top stories of the week, both inside and out of the ring from Mexico and anywhere luchadores are in action across the globe. Be sure to subscribe and follow all your favorite Lucha Central Network series on your favorite podcast platforms, either by their own series name or subscribe to the Lucha Central Podcast Network show pages to get all of the shows in one easy feed. And please consider giving a rating to help more fans find the shows that you love. For now, this is Denise Salcedo signing off from Lucha Central Central. Have a great week.
Lucha-Masks.com by Pro Wrestling Revolution, bringing you, in partnership with Mask Republic, the Lucha Brothers, as well as Japanese legend Ultimo Dragon. Go to lucha-masks.com and fight Lucha Strong with masks from your favorite Lucha legends and Pro Wrestling Revolution luchadores. Stay safe in style and represent your favorite luchador. Get yours now at lucha-masks.com, powered by Pro Wrestling Revolution.
And as always, a big thank you to Denise Salcedo. She has some fantastic interviews on the Lucha Central's YouTube page, so I highly recommend you check those out. And yeah, as Brendan mentioned, she typically does a post-show review of major pay-per-views, so she will be doing one of Vengeance Day. But if not, I'm sure we're going to see her do one sometime fairly soon in the future. But up next, Dusty's going to take us through what happened this week on WWE SmackDown, Main Event, and Raw.
Yeah, first of all, we had quite a bit of lucha action in WWE this week, which is kind of a surprise. Not all of it was great, but at least we got something. You know, something is better than nothing. And so...
Right?
First up, we had Friday Night SmackDown Live, and for the third time in 3 weeks, they gave us Dominic against King Corbin. But this time, Dominic finally won. But he didn't do it the old-fashioned way by learning from his enemy and finding the moment to strike. No. His dad, Rey Mysterio, grabs Corbin's leg and throws off his momentum, and Dominic gets the win. They're doing a passable job, not great, but not awful job of showing us King Corbin as a bully and wanting him to lose. And, of course, we wanted to see Dominic win, but, not this way. Dominic and Ray are both too good to be cheating to win. But at least he didn't lose again. And Brendan noted that on Wrestling Observer Radio this week, there was a report that the program was supposed to have been Ray, Dominic, and Buddy Murphy versus Corbin, Cutler, and Blake in kind of a three-man team thing, a trios team, or a six-man tag, whatever you prefer to call it. But after that, Cutler contracted COVID, and he was later fired. So that kind of explains the holding pattern that they've got right now for Rey Mysterio and Dominic. They don't have anybody on the side right now to kind of take the week off, and I think they're trying to reconfigure what they're doing ahead of WrestleMania season. So that kind of explains what's going on there. And then next up, we had WWE Main Event, where Ricochet went up against Humberto Carrillo. Main Event has been so good for Humberto, and so, he's just figured it out on the show. He's changed up his look, and he's really figured out the equation for what makes him look spectacular in his appearance. His shirt design has changed a little, looks fantastic. His gear is changing. His beard, his haircut. He's changing things subtly, but it's really helped put the puzzle pieces together for him. And just a spectacular look that he follows up with spectacular work. This was a 10-minute match. It was full of the flips and the aerial work and just great stuff that you love. It's what you expect when you'd hear Ricochet versus Humberto Carrillo. Right. But Humberto wasn't able to win. Ricochet was finally able to secure the pin. And about 10 minutes, like I say, 10-minute long match, but this was one of Ricochet's most impressive showings in a really long time in WWE, like at least in recent memory in WWE. So I highly encourage everybody to check this out. Like, this was a surprisingly great match, and it deserved better than main event, but it was the main event of main event, so again, better than nothing.
Right.
And then we roll on to Monday Night Raw, where we had Damian Priest against Angel Garza. And this is a big deal for Angel in a lot of ways. Mm-hmm. Backstage before the match, Miz and Morrison approached a very dashing-looking Angel Garza in his snazzy suit, and they told him that they would have his back before the match, and they'll be with him at ringside. And so he comes out with Miz and Morrison when they step to Edge in the ring. So he's kind of getting the rub from being in the ring with Edge. Then afterwards, he gets his match with Damian Priest, and it was a surprisingly great match. We had Bad Bunny at ringside with Damian, and you knew that with Miz and Morrison and Bad Bunny at ringside, we were going to have some kind of shenanigans, and they were able to distract and then stomp Damian before Bad Bunny snatched the briefcase and threw it into the ring. When he threw it in, Miz and Morrison went after it, but the ref didn't see Bad Bunny toss it in, so Miz and Morrison were ejected from ringside. Classic stuff, but really good. Damian Priest was able to then connect a bell clap into the Reckoning and get the pin. The whole match took about 4 minutes, but it's exciting to see Angel get this placement with the biggest outside celebrity to work with WWE in a really long time. I mean, we're already wrestling fans. WWE isn't going to try to cater to our interests with something like this. They're using someone outside to bring in viewers that aren't ordinarily there. Mm-hmm. And so Bad Bunny is perfect for that, and the fact that they're positioning Angel Garza as part of that feud is a big deal for Angel Garza. I hope he gets that WrestleMania match. He could really be impressive and show people. And just to get there and, to be on WrestleMania would be so cool for Angel, because I believe it was right after WrestleMania he got called up to the main roster last year. It might have been right before, but it was near WrestleMania time. And so to go that far in a year is very cool.
It's great, yeah.
It is. And there's been a lot of great social media posts from Miz, Morrison, and Angel Garza of them together. And so I think that hopefully WWE sees that aesthetic look, and sometimes they just like shiny, pretty things, and all three of them together are shiny, pretty men. And
absolutely.
It would add a fun dynamic to the storyline with Damian Priest and Bad Bunny. So I absolutely agree with your analysis and thoughts on Angel Garza hopefully being included in this longer term.
And Angel recently got an All Elite, or not All Elite, sorry, Mattel Elite figure released, and that you can pre-order now, and it comes with the tearaway pants. So that's a cool
yeah.
Oh yeah. No. I'm going to start buying action figures again. God darn it.
That's really impressive. That's just good business.
And speaking of, Zelina Vega is also getting a Target exclusive Mattel Elite figure in the current line. So there's a chance to get you some luchador figures through WWE. We talked a lot about the Boss Fight Studios work with Master Public and the All Elite figures last week, but there's a chance to get some luchadors through WWE right now too, if you keep your eye out.
Yeah. That's great. And you make a good point, too, Dusty, about leveraging Bad Bunny's popularity with the Latino community. And who else would be a better fit with some of that same charisma as Angel Garza? I think Damian Priest has done a great job being more of the muscle behind Bad Bunny. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, you need someone as well who is kind of the opposite with some of that cockiness and lucha libre ability. And even when they were fighting and kind of arguing during the match, Angel Garza and Bad Bunny, they were arguing in Spanish. And so I think that is those nuances, I think, is a way to finally make a proper kind of overture to the Latin community in wrestling and show, yes, it is kind of gimmicky and funny because you have Bad Bunny in a wrestling ring, but it's not stereotypical, it's really just based, off of just understanding the demographic, and then also just having the presence there of Latinos, And I think you even mentioned this last week too. I mean, Morrison himself, with his Lucha Libre background and Spanish background, is a good fit for that as well. So hopefully we get to see him having a more of a bigger role in the ring. But it's very WWE, but it's being done in a way where it makes sense.
It is, and it's more respectful than you expect from WWE, which is incredible too.
But at the same time, because, as Miranda said, it's so WWE, I'm not expecting this to last 3 weeks and then they pull the plug on it. I think this is a thing that has legs and they're going to let run possibly all the way to WrestleMania. So
yeah, I mean, Bad Bunny, has the #1 selling merchandise on WWEshop.com,
No, he knocked everybody off of the charts. He did. #1 through 5 were him.
And it has like hype cachet with street fashion, which is the craziest thing because of his presence in the street fashion community. He wears a lot of Gucci, a lot of, Versace, Off-White, stuff like that. And now his WWE gear has become fashion too. And I don't think that's ever happened for WWE. So that's a pretty exciting moment.
I do want to bring up one last thing. You've been talking about Zelina Vega. From what I understand, she does have a new shirt out in collaboration with Urban Aztec that just came out as well. Incredible. I know the Usos have one. Urban Aztec's already collaborated with the Lucha House Party last summer. So speaking of some things to wear and some just amazing collaboration and work, the Urban Aztec Zelina Vega shirt is awesome. It looks really cool.
It does. It is insane. The picture they used of her is so cool.
Yeah.
And there's a whole line of Urban Aztec shirts now. Ric Flair's had one, and of course Lucha House Party had a fantastic one. The Usos. Bret Hart has a really great one. You'd be surprised who has very cool Urban Aztec shirts.
Well, I mean, some of that is because Jesse Urban Aztec is just absolutely a huge wrestling fan.
Oh yeah.
So he's some of these designs are probably things that he does himself, and then because his style is so good, they pick it up. But I get the impression that he would probably do some of these wrestling images on his own, even if he wasn't making money. But is that Zelina Vega shirt, is that going to be on PWTs, or where can we find that?
Right now it's available through Foot Action, I believe.
Sweet. Mm-hmm. Okay. Just like the Lucha House Party ones.
Yes. Yeah, but less of a limited release at the current time, at least. Yeah, the Lucha House Party, they were gone in a day, but they kind of figured that distribution out, I think.
And eventually they started selling it at WWEshop.com, so I imagine that's probably going to happen with the Usos, probably not with Zelina's.
Yeah.
But, that's just the name of the game.
Awesome. I'm super excited for that. Jesse, hook us up with a shirt, man.
Okay. Well, that's this week in WWE with Raw, SmackDown, and Main Event. Up next, though, we got some more for you. Dusty's going to take us through what happened this week on AEW, Dark, and Dynamite.
Yeah, first up on Tuesday night, we had Dark, and we had SCU up against Lee Johnson and Aaron Solo. Aaron Solo signed with the Nightmare Family now, so this is a big boost to his career, but it wasn't a big enough boost to be part of the team that retired SCU. There was a ton of great back and forth in this match, and it was surprisingly long and deep. This was a really good match, but SCU picked up the win with a double team finisher, leading to Kazarian getting the pin, and just under 11 minutes. Fantastic tag team match. Next up, we had Brian Cage defeating Jake St. Patrick. Even though he declared last week that it was St. Patrick's Day, Cage was here to show him, no, It's still February, friend, because this was a very quick squash match. He just decimated St. Patrick. It took about 60 seconds. He had one of the most brutal drill claw finishers I've seen in a while. It looked fantastic. I loved this match. Loved Brian Cage. If you love Cage, this was your cup of tea. And then
I literally blinked and missed it. That was where, like, my friend asked me a question. I turned around to answer the question, and by the time I came back, the 3 count had happened. So
Yeah, it was fast. And our next match, we had Red Velvet against Diamante. And this was a great and really hard-fought match. And despite my prediction of Diamante picking up the win, Red Velvet was able to get her 4th win in a row this week with a mean drop kick to the skull of Diamante for the finisher. Like, such a mean kick. Like, they really brought it in this match. And if you really want to see some hard-hitting women's wrestling, this is a great match for you.
Match delivers, yeah.
I can't wait to see Red Velvet get her hands on Jade now. Exciting.
Yeah, I was going to say, they're really pushing Red Velvet, and I think it's a perfect opportunity against Jade. She's just so talented and charismatic, and I just think she's found a really good fit in AEW. And from what I understand, that role against that whole program against Jade was supposed to be Brandy when they first came up with it. And then, of course, with her getting pregnant, she's not able to compete. And I think it's for the better because now they're able to elevate, a new star into this role. They're finally really making, and establishing their own stars, with these types of programs. So, like we've talked about before, with Dark being able to use that show to help elevate and establish some of these younger stars. So that way, when they make the transition to Dynamite, they have some TV time under their belt.
Yeah. The women's work and the match quality, the promo quality, everything is just leaps and bounds ahead of where it used to be. I mean, AEW hasn't been around that long, and their women's division was like woefully deficient, but now they've got so many feuds that I'm like, yes, this is something I want. This is exciting. I'll touch on that in Dynamite, but it really is progressing. And I mean, not to say that, kind of pushing Brandy aside and giving somebody else the chance might have been the right decision, but it probably was. And it'll be nice to see what this opens up for AEW too. I think they've now started building. It's going to be hard to catch NXT, but they've started building one of the strongest women's divisions in the world. And so it's really exciting. And then on our main, go ahead, sorry.
No, keep going.
Oh, and our main event of Dark, we had Joey Janela against Jack Evans. And TH2 simply have the coolest intro in all of AEW, like hands down. Nobody has a cooler intro than TH2. This was an amazing match. Both Janela and Jack Evans really brought it, and they just literally beat the crap out of each other in this match. It was amazing. Yeah. It was fantastic. And despite coming incredibly close, Evans eventually lost to Janela's diving elbow just a hair after the 10-minute mark. But this was so good. Like, I realized they had to make Joey Janela look strong this week. He has a title match on Dynamite, but holy cow, what a great match. Like, this was so good. And if you want to see some hard-hitting action from Joey Janela and Jack Evans, if it sounds as awesome to you as it really was, go check it out because it was awesome. And then the next night we had Dynamite. And our main Lucha content for this week was Thunder Rosa against Layla Hirsch in the first match of the women's #1 contendership elimination tournament. And it'll be held over Dynamite and maybe Dark. We haven't really found out yet. But this was the first pairing of the week. And if you thought legit Layla Hirsch was going to surprise the world and upset Thunder Rosa, I've got some bad news for you and for Layla. Thunder Rosa was just on her most top form in this match. She was incredible. Yeah. During the intro, they pictured a very impassioned promo over the entrance about how she was here to do 3 things. She was here to win the women's tournament. She was here to win her belt back from Serena Deeb. And she was here to kick in Britt Baker's nose. And
That's a pretty good to-do list.
Yeah. If you look
Fairly
at the
impressed.
tournament rankings, it could be in the semifinals that Thunder Rosa and Britt Baker face each other again. So that would be an excellent meeting before the two. I thought we might see some interference from Britt Baker or from Reba in the match, but not this week. It was pretty straightforward. Thunder Rosa continued her amazing gear streak. She had some really badass Power Rangers Dino Force inspired gear. It looked fantastic. She was able to bring a lot of the action and keep things going. And of course, Thunder Rosa picked up the win in just 9 minutes. It was such a good match. 9 minutes on TV is so much better than what the women on AEW used to get. And this match is so much better than what the women on AEW used to get.
I was going to say, you said just 9 minutes? That's like double what they used to.
I know.
That's really impressive.
It went so fast, though. It just felt like... Yeah. I couldn't believe it was 9 minutes when it was done. Like, it just went, it was beautiful, like a symphony of a match.
It was a really good matchup for her on this, because they've been making Layla look good. Like you mentioned, they were expecting, people were expecting the interference to happen.
And Layla to get the upset. Yeah, that was kind of a common theory for a while.
But also, Layla is a traditional style of wrestler, and Thunder Rosa is an MMA fighter, so they have a very simpatico sort of skill set to put a match on. And that's part of why you had that flow, because there wasn't any awkward pauses. There was no long waiting for somebody to hit their next spot. It just went from move to move to move. Even when there were reversals and other things happening that would change who had control of the match, it flowed very fast, and
it really did.
Yeah.
And the flow, now that you mention that, the flow and the rhythm of this match were incredible. The pacing, like, and at the end when Rosa avoided the moonsault and got the upper hand and hit the finisher, like, that sequence was incredible too. Just Rosa's momentum in the last year has been insane. And every week I'm like, oh, let's see what happens. You know, because most wrestlers, I've mentioned this before, most wrestlers have a plateau. They get to a certain level, and that's as good as they get. You know, like they get there and either they become main event or whatever. They don't progress. But Thunder Rosa progresses literally every week. Like, every week, the Thunder Rosa you saw this week was better than the Thunder Rosa you saw last week. It was better than the Thunder Rosa you saw 2 weeks ago. And I don't know how that's possible, because every time she's so good that you think, I can't believe how good she is. You know, I mean, like, it's disappointing in a way she gets pigeonholed as a women's wrestler, because her work is as good as any wrestler. And, I mean, we've mentioned it before. She's somebody on the way up. And if you're not familiar with Thunder Rosa, I don't know where you've been, because you've got to get familiar with Thunder Rosa.
Yes.
I truly, before this all started, I didn't see her as the winner of the tournament. I thought they were going to introduce somebody new to do that. But at this point, I could see Thunder Rosa actually winning the tournament.
Well, she's climbed up into the rankings now, so they're acknowledging her as an AEW wrestler who is in the top 5 ranking, which means that she is already in the mix as far as contending for the title. And I've complained a little bit about that. The transparency on that is usually pretty obvious. Like, people get into the top 5 when they are getting big story angles like this. So that's kind of my little indicator. They probably are going to take her to the semifinals, if not all the way to the finals. And I'm here for that ride.
Yeah. I mean, when you think about it, this is the top, her program with Britt Baker is the top women's program in the entire company.
Absolutely.
And that's, Shida at this point, they, and it's unfortunate, but they haven't had a really strong program with Shida since her program with Thunder Rosa. So I think too, that's also a common thread, that whoever Thunder Rosa seems to be involved with is a sign that is a program that the company's paying attention to, that fans are paying attention to.
It's absolutely true. And, it's still confusing where things are between NWA and AEW, but I think a lot of people, myself included, have come to think of Thunder Rosa as an AEW wrestler.
Yeah,
You
I
know, I
absolutely
truly
agree.
do. And, well, we need to roll on, but we love Thunder Rosa. We will keep bringing you everything Thunder Rosa does because, like I said, we love Thunder Rosa. And
Very true.
But in other news this week, we had Inner Circle meeting after their tag team match, and Sammy Guevara left the group. He left Inner Circle. Chris Jericho didn't want him to leave, but he left anyway, fractured the group. And what's interesting now is after he left, Proud and Powerful, who seemed to be the next most upset due to the tag team system. You know, they were really the legit tag team in Inner Circle, but MJF and Jericho became the tag team of the Inner Circle, and we're facing Young Bucks at Revolution on March 7th. However, Proud and Powerful were announced last night as the next challengers for the Young Buck tag team titles in a championship match on the February 17th edition of Dynamite. So it's really exciting to see what could happen there. As much as I don't necessarily think the Bucks lose, at the same time, Proud and Powerful versus MJF and Jericho for the titles, like, sign me up. That's what I want.
They're finally getting the tag team opportunity that we think and believe and know that they deserve. You know, I mean, it's hopefully it's inevitable that they become tag team champions at some point. I mean, they're one of the best tag teams in the entire business. Does it happen next week? Probably not.
No, I think they're building this for them versus the Good Brothers, so I'm still there for that.
But also the fact that just having this, I mean, we were just talking a few weeks ago how we have not seen Proud and Powerful in a match in quite some time, and, you know, even on Dark, and so that was really impacting the rankings, and, you know, I think overall just that visibility of them, their identities became too immersed in the Inner Circle, and so now hopefully this is a chance for them to kind of step back into what their true, you know, dynamic is as a tag team, and hopefully we get to see that again, and they can kind of disassociate from the Inner Circle, because at this point I think the Inner Circle has taken them as far as it's going to take them, and absolutely with the storytelling they're doing, that MJF has really caused this fracture, first with Sammy and now possibly Proud and Powerful, and then maybe, you know, Jake and all of that, you know, I mean, who knows, but it's just, hopefully this is more of a catalyst than anything. If they're not winning the titles, it's a catalyst for them hopefully to continue to move away from the Inner Circle.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's kind of predictable in a way when you're watching it to see what's going to happen. And we've been conditioned to want that kind of swerve by WWE, but it's so satisfying sometimes when things are predictable in that way. And there's no way you can't predict that Proud and Powerful will be the tag titles, you know, tag team champions someday. But like you guys mentioned, I don't think it's this week. I'm excited to see what they do. They are one of the most legit tag teams in AEW, and they've kind of been tied up in this Inner Circle thing for a long time, and they, you know, really deserve to be set free into the tag team division, because they are so much more than the Inner Circle and so much more than they're getting the chance to show and be right now. But I think that could be part of their storyline too, you know, like the Phoenix from the Ashes, you know, they come out of it better than ever. And
So like I said, I think what's going to happen with the title match is that, as they've been doing frequently, you're going to have the Good Brothers come out, and I think that having that as the kind of this tweener feud where they slowly realize that they can do bigger things is going to be what we get out of the next week, and that's kind of the step that I think is missing between where they're at now and when they leave. Yeah, but that's just my my fantasy booking. So who knows?
I like it. I think you're right. I mean, I think this is the sign that they need to leave too. Just like Sammy had his sign that it was time to go. I think that this week will be Proud and Powerful's sign that it's time to go. And we'll see what happens. It's exciting. A lot of tag team action, and they deserve to be on top of the mountain there. So we'll see what AEW brings us.
And back to the rankings, they're back in the rankings, so they definitely are doing something with them.
Yes, yeah, that's always
Good.
a good sign.
Well, the results for WWE Raw and SmackDown, as well as the results for AEW Dynamite and Dark, are available on luchacentral.com. So if you missed this week, of course you listen to this show, so we got you up to date. But you can also go to luchacentral.com to get your results. Brendan, you teased some Ring of Honor news a little bit earlier. So why don't you hit him with this brand new, I mean, really, the first thing I said when I heard this was, finally.
Yeah.
Finally. But go ahead. Why don't you tell the good people what's happening with Ring of Honor?
Oh, so the Munoz family has signed on with Ring of Honor, and for those of you that don't recognize the way that I'm putting that, that's Dragon Lee, Bestia del Ring, and Rush. So we have, two of them are obviously re-signing, and then Bestia del Ring's finally, we all knew he was gonna sign.
Yeah.
So they're there, everybody's in place. We're getting the 27th. We're getting a title defense as well. So they are moving things into full gear. They definitely want to put the Facción Ingobernables front and center in ROH, and it's really about time. To Miranda's point, it was just like, I saw the announcement too, and I was like, okay, here we go. We're finally doing this.
Finally. Well, they've been, talking about all these other re-signees, really for over a month, 2 months now.
Yeah.
And, we talked about the speculation of what would be happening with Rush and Dragon Lee. Could they be getting overtures from other companies? What was happening with their status? And it wasn't until, the last big Ring of Honor event when Rush retained, and we also saw Bestia del Ring make his debut, that there was some reassurance that they were going to stay. But it really wasn't until this week that we got the formal announcement from Ring of Honor. Yes.
With a graphic and everything, so they made it as official as it could possibly be. You had the ROH graphic, you had the Faction Ingobernable graphic, where they were all looking sensational. Like Bestia hasn't looked that good on an image in a long time, in my opinion. Like, he's always a bit of a hot mess, which is how it's still good, but he was decked out and looking good. All of this is very exciting. Speaking of big images, we also have a nice little tie-in with that, and Masked Republic announced this week that they've got some Faction Ingobernables merchandise that is now available, and it's I believe, I didn't check this earlier, but I believe it's on Hot Topic. For sure, you can find it if you go to Masked Republic's socials. They've got all the links to buy it. We've got the links up on Lucha Central. But they're good looking shirts. It's good looking design, and with them being signed on in the United States and being signed to Masked Republic, I'm expecting a lot more Ingobernables merchandise to be coming down the line, and I think a lot of it's going to be really, really good looking stuff.
Yes. If you go to maskredrepublic.com, you'll find links to all of the sources as far as officially licensed products, including Pro Wrestling Tees, lucha-mask.com, Hot Topic, Running Press, Amazon, and Super 7. So if you're interested in t-shirts, masks, action figures, posters, comic books, you have it there, caps, shorts, socks, like literally everything.
The socks are baller too.
Yeah. The socks are
baller. Since we were talking about Urban Aztec earlier and his great designs, and you just mentioned Lucha Masks, I'm going to put that out there too. He's got a mask up on Lucha-Masks right now. It is also really lovely.
Oh, it's incredible. Yeah.
So, and we've gone on about the quality of the merchandise there. So please go support one of our favorite artists. I can't say our favorite because then all the other ones will get mad at me. And buy things at lucha-mask.com as well. The Urban Aztec mask is up there.
And just one more plug for Ring of Honor as well. One of the other members of La Facción Ingobernable, Kenny King, also re-signed as well this week. So it seems like the faction is intact and going to be stronger than ever. So that's great news for Lucha Libre fans who were very high on Ring of Honor. They're going to continue to have a strong presence on the show, it seems like. And I think we're getting into some faction warfare coming soon.
I hope so.
Yeah,
yes.
I really do hope
exciting.
So. That is what I'm hoping for. You don't bring someone, you re-sign the entire La Facción Ingobernable, plus adding Bestial del Ring. You already have, the foundation, really making a rise too. So it's, I think things are going to happen. Just a prediction. Just /hope/fantasy booking.
Yeah.
Some fantasy booking, but I love it. I'm here for it.
Well, up next we had This Week in NXT, and the show just kicked off so well. We had a semifinal match in the men's Dusty Classic Tag Team Tournament. MSK, formerly known as the Treehouse, versus Legado del Fantasma. And the one thing I wrote down with this match after I watched it was this match, these teams. This was such a great way to kick off the show. And also I feel like these teams need to be part of the tag team title tournament in the future. I hope that these two teams are the future of the tag team division, because it was so entertaining. And last week we had Legado del Fantasma defeating Lucha House Party. And you thought that was a style, a Lucha Libre style, almost clash of styles, but very similar. And this, I think, took it to a whole new level, because, just Carter and Lee, they just are a fantastic fit for NXT, and they really were able to match the high-flying style of Legado del Fantasma, the speed of them so quickly. A few highlights of this is that, again, it was fast-paced the entire time. Wes escaped a leg submission that sent Wild into the corner at the beginning of the match, with Carter tagging in. There was an awesome head scissors that sent Wild into his own corner. Joaquin Wild into his own corner. And really from there was a double suplex by Laredo del Fantasma, and then Raul Mendoza had this slingshot kind of hip toss into Lee for almost a pinfall. Really, action in and out of the ring. The match ended with the team's Carter and Lee's signature move, the Heart Attack Blockbuster, for the 3 count. And really, this match in particular, for me, was just really entertaining to watch. I really loved it. If you're a fan of that high-flying, really smooth, lots of quick sequences, this is the match for you. And it also shows that they're really, MSK won, so they're moving on to the finals. And I could absolutely see them winning this. They were one of the hottest tag teams in Impact and on the independent scene. Why not have this big overture by introducing them in the Dusty Men's Tag Team Classic and having them win? So I just thought that in watching this match, this could definitely be a future match that could be a takeover worthy type of match. And when you have enough fans in the stands, some of the things that they were doing would just get fans flipping out. And so I feel like this is going to be a hopefully a program that we see in the future more.
Oh, I'm sure we will. I am positive. It's just too good. And there's too much to be. I mean, NXT's running into wonderful territory where they've got too many good tag teams. So, they're gonna emphasize that at some point. I guarantee it.
Yeah. I mean, and I want to say Joaquin Wilde had the 450 splash. That luckily Lee got his knees up, but I mean, it was just crazy how smooth that looked. And how even just the chemistry between both teams, it was just something that I just loved it. I wasn't expecting it to be that good. I thought last week's match with Lucha House Party was the definite Lucha match of this tournament. But I have to say I was so impressed with MSK, and I feel like this match in itself was way more of a traditional Lucha Libre match, as far as the high flying aspect of it than last week. So interesting in that. Now, speaking of Legado del Fantasma, Scarlett was in William Regal's office and asked him to sanction a match between Karrion Kross and Santos Escobar for next week, in which he agreed to. And when Santos heard about it, he didn't seem to be fazed by it at all. And instead, Joaquin Wilde and Raul Mendoza came into the back area while he was doing his interview, and he asked them to take care of Karrion themselves. Kind of the good old Kurt Stallion, where take him down before next week. Unfortunately, that did not work out for them because it's Karrion, motherfucking Kross. And and so later on in the show, we see them both laid out, and Karrion standing over them and delivering another warning to Santos Escobar about next week. So it is official. Next week we are going to have Santos Escobar versus Karrion Kross.
I'm so excited.
I'll jump back to that in a second because I have a question I want to ask you guys about that. But I do want to go into the semifinals of the women's tag team classic, Dusty Tag Team Classic. We had Ember Moon and Shotzi Blackheart versus Candice LeRae and Indy Hartwell. And this one was, a good match. I think we've seen them all four go at it before. So, I do want to say there was a awesome spot where Indy Hartwell helped Candice LeRae up into the top rope, and Candice LeRae hit a off the top rope head scissors to Ember Moon that then launched her into, Shotzi Blackheart. To the announce table. So that was a beautiful, beautiful spot. I think the chemistry between Indy Hartwell and Candice LeRae has grown on me. At first it didn't quite make sense, but I think that their dynamic in the ring has really grown. And especially, I always say Shotzi is just also effortlessly dangerous in some of her stuff, as far as she's just reckless abandonment, going for it. Ember Moon, she did that eclipse with the diving senton, which was awesome. Which Hartwell ended up, protecting Candice LeRae with that. But ultimately too was the legal woman in there, and so she got pinned. So for the finals, we do have Raquel Gonzalez and Dakota Kai versus Ember Moon and Shotzi Blackheart. And it was announced this week also from William Regal that the winners of the women's tag team classic will get a title opportunity for the women's tag championships, which was, I feel like, a missing element in this. So that too it's much more high stakes now. And it seems like as far as who's going to remain the tag champions is going to be Nia Jax and Shayna Baszler. So, it either way, whoever wins, I think we'll have a great match with them, but, it's going to be something else. Shotzi Blackheart and Ember Moon versus Dakota Kai and Raquel Gonzalez. That's happening this Sunday at Vengeance Day. Yeah. So that's going to be a fantastic match. Also happening this Sunday at Vengeance Day is a triple threat match for the NXT Women's Championship. Mercedes Martinez versus Toni Storm versus champion Io Shirai. They did a great video package for that, really highlighting Mercedes Martinez's return to NXT. Thank God she got out of that whole retribution mess.
Yeah.
Even though she still had that mask, she still seems to have the mask on, but luckily it seems like nobody cares, so that's fine. I'm not going to say anything. If she doesn't say anything, if we all forget, I think we're just all forgetting she was part of Retribution for a hot second, and we're just leaving it alone.
No, that totally wasn't her. It was somebody else.
It was somebody else. But that's going to be, I think, an awesome match. Really, I'm so glad to see Mercedes Martinez back in NXT. And this will be interesting as far, again, a clash of styles with Mercedes Martinez having more of that MMA brawler background, Toni Storm with more of that British strong style, and then you have Io Shirai, Genius of the Sky, with the Japanese Lucha Libre hybrid, but I can imagine that this is going to be a banger match. So that will be one. There's going to be some great moments in that match. I do want to jump real quick into the question I had about Karrion Kross and Santos Escobar. There was some rumors coming around over the past week or so that WWE is anxious to get Karrion Kross on the main roster. Even last week or the week before, Randy Orton on social media was calling out Karrion Kross, saying, get your ass up here so we can fight and make some money. And if Randy Orton has anything to say with it, or Randy Orton thinks it's a good idea, I'm sure there's people within the company who think it's a good idea too. So I'm curious if you guys think, is this going to be Karrion Kross's last match in NXT or one of his last matches? I mean, it doesn't seem like he's anywhere near the title picture. They're going to continue on with Finn Balor and his program with Pete Dunne. So that seems like, that title picture is already set. So where we naturally thought Karrion would jump back into the title picture, now he has this other program with Santos. I'm curious. Do you guys think this is going to be his last match, if not one of his last matches in NXT? Or is this just a way to kind of have him do something else while they kind of clear up the NXT Championship division picture?
Well, I mean, it is pretty telling that he's not immediately back in the title picture. Like, generally speaking, when somebody goes out the way he did, where he won the title, he was big, the natural story would be to climb back up to the top for the championship. So by not putting him in that program and putting him in there against somebody whose championship he really can't take unless we are stretching our imagination to pretend he's 205 pounds. But it is somebody that has said they want to work together. It's somebody that they think they can do something. I think that this is all about putting a rocket on his back so that he has momentum going out of NXT into whatever they want to do next. But I mean, Raw needs an injection of excitement, and I mean, I don't want it to be Karrion Kross because I want to see good matches on NXT, like NXT style matches with him. But if they put him on Raw and put him in a program with Randy, the eyes will be on that for sure.
Well, yeah, that'd be super for Karrion.
Yeah. I mean, it's just think about it. And they're very, again, similar and personality and almost this kind of mystique. If someone, I mean, especially if Randy puts Karrion over, dear God.
Oh, gosh, yeah.
Dear God. That's, that would be something else. So, I mean, next week we're going to see that match. It seems very likely that Karrion is going to win that match against Santos. But even Santos has acknowledged there's been some pictures circulating about some of their brief moments in AAA. So, I mean, I think too, if anyone could kind of try and challenge Karrion in a way that he's not used to, I think it's going to be Santos. So I hope it's an entertaining match.
Oh, and there's no way it can't be. Those two together are magical. So yeah.
That's this week in NXT. The results for NXT are available on luchacentral.com for you to view. And we'll be bringing you, of course, what happens on Vengeance Day this Sunday, February 14th, and also what happens next week on NXT. But up next, we got some history to go over. Dusty, why don't you take us through this week in Lucha Libre history?
That's right. It's time for This Week in Lucha Libre History. Be sure to check in at luchacentral.com every single day for this day in Lucha Libre History by Pep Carrera. And he has information, birth dates, anniversaries, matches of the day, all kinds of amazing videos, everything, all about Lucha Libre at luchacentral.com, your centralized place for all things Lucha Libre. This week I chose February the 9th, 2003, when Vampiro won the NWA World Light Heavyweight Championship after beating Tarzan Boy, now known as Toscano, at the Arena Coliseo in Mexico City. I couldn't find this match online, so if anybody out there has video and would like to send it to me, please contact me via social media. I'll give you the shout out. I'll review the actual match here sometime soon if I get it. But research for the match led to me finding out that this was Vampiro's only run with the belt, and actually his only time holding an NWA belt, period. Shocker was aligned with Vampiro at this point, but later turned on him after Tarzan Boy was fired from CMLL, and later won the belt and Vampiro's hair at the Anniversario show. And another kind of interesting note about it is this was the only singles title that Vampiro ever held that was designated as anything other than a heavyweight. Like, this was the light heavyweight, and he never held any title otherwise that wasn't heavyweight. So it's kind of a special and interesting footnote in Vampiro's history. And like I say, if anybody out there has this match, send it to me. I would love to see it. And what did you pick this week, Brendan?
Well, I also had a match that it captivated my my attention, but couldn't find it. This week I chose February 8th, 1988, where Blue Panther won the UWA World Junior Light Heavyweight Championship for the second time after beating Legends of Lucha Libre superstar El Solar. Like, that's, just a casual thing
So
that Blue
cool.
Panther, right?
Yeah.
But this is just such a captivating to the imagination match. You have two technical masters who are renowned for their ability to put people into locks and submissions, and just the flow and energy of that match would be fantastic. I mean, I have made it a mission to find this. So yeah, please, if somebody out there's got it, let me know, and I will do this. I will go crazy, get you the shout out. I will probably send you a little bit of money or something just for the pleasure of watching this match, because this is insane. That this happened in Arena Puebla, which is also, I think, probably the most exciting thing that could ever happen in Arena Puebla, but that's the whole other editorial thing there. Miranda, you actually had a match with some video, right?
Yeah, so I ended up picking the match of the day. This was my first match of the day that I picked, and it was for February 11th. This was Conan, Hijo del Santo, and Eddie Guerrero versus Los Hermanos Dinamita, and this was on back in 1993. The event itself was actually on February 6th, 1993. And this was a 6-man tag match. It wasn't until later on I realized that it was kind of a mask versus mask match, but not in the sense of like pinfall masks. It was whoever took one of the masks off of someone was the winner. That's how I interpreted it, because there was no pinfall attempts at all, and the match itself ended when Hijo de Santos' masks was ripped off. So it took a while to kind of get used to everything that was happening, because it was a crazy match. It was not your traditional 6-man tag. It was action everywhere the entire time. One thing that I noted is in the beginning when the entrances happened, and Brendan, you made a note of this as you kind of watched it too, Eddie Guerrero was being cheered for. And in kind of my research, that was happening, one, because he was teaming with Conan, and he got a super major pop, like rock star level. Like he was coming down and security was around him the entire time just trying to shield him. It was the biggest pop I've ever seen Conan get at that time. But, you know, Eddie was a tag team with Hijo del Santo, and they had created this newer version of La Pareja Atomica, the atomic pair. So at the time he was still babyface in this. I think after this match, a while afterward, is when he turned heel and turned against Santos to then be aligned with Art Barr. So that's why I think not too long after this match, likely it was when the turn happened. So that's why he was cheered for, as he was pretty babyface at this time. And the match itself, like I mentioned, was very, very chaotic. The entire time, brawling most of the time outside of the ring, but there was some inside of the ring as well. And it was hard to keep up, I have to admit, just because there was so much happening. But you know, it was great to kind of get a glimpse of the past in this match, and just, you know, still with some of the hard hitting kind of, you know, real tough wrestling. There was a moment where Conan got hit and you started seeing some blood coming from his forehead. You know, not the sense of the high flying that a lot of fans are used to now, but very traditional as far as your technicals and rudos. You could absolutely tell who was, you know, face and heel, and the crowd reaction played a lot into it. And this was just a really cool match to watch. This was one of the older AAA matches I've seen so far. And, again, you have to kind of continuously try and keep up with everything that's happening, because there's lots of camera angle shots, here and there. And it was also raining. I believe the venue was outdoors. And I believe it was either Universal 2000 or Máscara Año 2000, in which they were running towards one of the turnbuckles and slid into it because there was so much water in the ring that it made the floor slippery. So little nuances like that for me were kind of entertaining to watch. But yes, this is available on YouTube for you to watch, and you can find a link to it on luchacentral.com. And that is this week in Lucha Libre history. As Dusty mentioned, you can find this day in Lucha Libre history on luchacentral.com, as well as Match of the Day. But Brendan, why don't you tell our listeners what else they can find on luchacentral.com?
Well, if they're not going to luchacentral.com, it is time to do it. luchacentral.com is the online home for Lucha Libre, where you can get all of the top news in English and in Spanish. Find the best curated video content and original content not seen anywhere else. Find when Lucha Libre events would be happening in your area. Find photo galleries from top photographers covering Lucha Libre around the world. A place to have your voice heard, from weekly polls to annual awards, seen and read by top executives in all of the major Lucha Libre promotions across the globe. And on top of all of that, it's free. So, I mean, no real excuse. Do it. It's free. luchacentral.com, your centralized place for all things Lucha Libre.
Dusty, you have some AAA news for us regarding the partnership with Marvel and AAA, and a few wrestling notes.
Yes, we got a lot of AAA news this week. Sorry, my microphone wasn't working. News came out this week that during the press tour for Disney Mexico, that Disney Mexico manager Miguel Vivas, basically, whenever they ask him what he's most excited about at each stop, he mentions the Marvel Funko AAA collaboration. And it's also kind of interesting because, as we mentioned before, Disney is behind the new Blue Demon show, Ultraviolet and Blue Demon. Blue Demon kind of works with AAA. So Disney may be the first, like massively international company to see the value in Lucha Libre and Lucha products. It was also announced this week that Disney will be teaming with AAA to release a game, like a video game, based on the luchadors within the Marvel Funko line. But there's been no word as to exactly how AAA will be involved, if any of the solely AAA talent will be involved, because so far in the one match we've only seen them interact with each other. But it'll be interesting to see what happens. No word was available yet as of recording time. If anything gets announced, we will announce it to you, but it's exciting news and a very big deal for Lucha Libre in general that Disney is willing to put their promotional and financial machine behind Lucha Libre right now, and this will bring more eyes to Lucha than we think. I mean, this is really going to be a big deal, so that is very exciting. And then, in other AAA news, we also had the Auto Luchas. The 3 Auto Lucha shows from the weekend of October 17th and 18th were placed on YouTube by Lucha Blog this week so that American fans could finally watch them. And here's how the cards ran down, along with reviews for a couple of my favorite matches. First up, we had Auto Luchas Episode 9. Lady Shani beat Fabi Apache and La Hydra for a title shot at the Reina de Reinas Championship, and this was just fantastic. This was the match that probably should have been the actual Triple Mania match instead of the Gauntlet match that we got. It seems very likely that this match was set up early enough that they thought Taya would still be able to appear at Triple Mania, so it's kind of understandable where it went. It sets Lady Shani as the number 1 contender for the Reina de Reinas Championship, something that, I and others online had previously thought she had already kind of had. But it's a great match. The talent is super, super high in this match, and it's one you should definitely check out, especially with all the, lack of AAA options lately. Something new is exciting. And also on the episode for that card, we had Big Mommy and Mystices defeating Australian Suicide and 80s. We had Nino Hamburguesa and Octagon Jr. defeating Cardo Brava Jr. and Mocha Coda Jr. And we had Pagano defeating Chessman. Then we had episode 10 of Auto Luchas. Australia Suicide defeated show friend and fan favorite Mr. Iguana and Tito Santana. Then we had Argenis defeating Mystices and La Parca Negra. That was a great match. Big Mommy and Lady Shani defeated Fabi Apache and La Hydra. And Chessman defeated Psycho Clown and Tejano. Then we had Auto Luchas episode 11, and this was the strongest show of the trio, strongest show of the weekend for me. And also, going by my understanding of the recording, it was from the first set of matches taped for the weekend. And you can kind of see the extra energy in them. Tejano versus Octagon was great. Octagon Jr. It had amazing heel work from Tejano Jr. It featured run-ins from Argenis and Mystices Jr. And it just felt like the most complete AAA match I had seen since COVID, since the pandemic era. It was fantastic. There was also a really great match by Fabi Apache defeating Lady Shani. Murder Clown beat Tito Santana and Parca Negra, and we had Maximo and Nino Hamburguesa teaming up with Carta Brava and Mocha Coda Jr. Great matches. Great to have AAA doing shows. And as we reported last week, AAA is still recording new shows. Phoenix of the Lucha Bros appeared solo without Pentagon at last Saturday's show at Hacienda de Santa Maria Shalostock in Tlashco. So hopefully we'll get to see, some new Lucha very soon. They're recording right now, and Phoenix was there, so that's a good sign for the level of talent, and it's really exciting to see what's happening. So hopefully next week we'll have some more new AAA news to bring you.
Thank you, Dusty. Now we're heading over to the world of Impact Wrestling. And this week in Impact, the show started off with an 8-man tag match, which is a preview of what we're going to expect this Saturday at No Surrender, which is the Impact Plus exclusive event that you can purchase. We had Josh Alexander, Trey Miguel, Suicide, and Willie Mack facing Ace Austin, Blake Christian, Chris Bay, and Daivari. I mean, Willie Mack, as we love him here on the show, always entertaining in the ring. He had some really good sequences with Daivari, which makes me think that that's a direction they're going to be going in possibly, with Willie Mack and some kind of program with Daivari. Surprisingly, I mean, Daivari took down Willie Mack with a huge lariat clothesline. However, Willie Mack has that standing moonsault that he does that's just, I still, every time I see him do it, makes me so surprised that someone of his size can do that. But the star
and so
of
gracefully.
Yes, absolutely. Like it does it with ease.
Oh, yeah, it makes it look effortless and blows my mind every time.
Yes, really the big star of this match though was Trey Miguel. He applied what he calls the hourglass submission on Blake Christian for the win. And so we talked about MSK, the former Treehouse members going to NXT, Trey Miguel staying behind on Impact, but it does seem like they're really trying to push him into his own stratosphere and really putting attention on him. So that is something that's fantastic. But the really big Lucha Libre news coming out of this week's Impact is the debut of Black Taurus. It's been reported that he was at the Impact tapings previously, not really knowing though what he was doing there, what his role would be, but he was introduced as the newest member of Decay. And he faced Caleb with a K. Such a good debut. I mean, I forget how agile and fast Black Taurus is. He is so strong and big, but he is one of the quickest in his size, and just laid out Caleb. But I also think that this is a perfect way to bring him into the company. I mean, you already have Rosemary being the primary mouthpiece of Decay, and his aesthetic really blends well with it. It is now this kind of Decay 2.0 version. And he can really be the monster of Decay. He can really be the muscle behind Rosemary and Crazy Steve. And so, again, no need to cut any promos, no need to talk or do anything really than just kick ass. And so, I think that that's a perfect role for him, and it's a great utilization of a luchador. So I'm very excited about this. I mean, we talked about it last week where, with Taya leaving and Willie Mack's appearances being here or there, not a big Lucha Libre presence. But with Black Taurus now becoming a part of Decay, it seems like we're going to have a consistent presence. And I think it's a great fit for Decay, for the company, and for Black Taurus.
Yeah, I got some traction on social media too when Rosemary was talking about how their faction had a Minotaur. Did your faction have a Minotaur? And I was like, oh, so good. Yeah, it was just I love the fit. Yeah, it's just perfect.
Yes.
And the response online to it has been tremendous. Cubs fans showed that basically it was dwarfing the same level of announcement that you were getting when Kenny Omega was about to appear on the show.
Yeah. It does look like we're going to see Decay versus Tennille Dashwood and Team Triple XL at No Surrender this Saturday. Also, as I mentioned, the opening bout was a preview to, and I'm not quite sure what this is, so you'll have to explain if you understand what this is a triple threat revolver match. Which is, and it could be, I think, as 3 people start and as one person's eliminated, another person gets added in. That is how I understand it, but I could totally be wrong. And that is Daivari versus Suicide versus Willie Mack versus Ace Austin versus Trey Miguel versus Chris Bay versus Josh Alexander versus Blake Christian.
Yeah, that does sound like that's what they're doing, is they're just going to have some combination of 3 start that match. And then as people get eliminated, someone else is going to fill in.
Yeah.
So,
which I've never seen that type of match before.
It's got kind of the excitement of a gauntlet match or a Royal Rumble, but with the competitors known ahead of time and slightly different stakes. If that's what they're doing, that sounds like it could be a very exciting matchup.
Yeah. And again, I mean, this is a lot of people within the X division, like East Austin, like Trey Miguel, like Willie Mack, like Chris Bay, I mean, so that they're very reliable and talented. And then you throw in people like Davari and Suicide, Josh Alexander, who's now doing his own work, outside of the North, and then Blake Christian, who's very popular on the independent scene. It's sets up to be a very, very interesting match. Absolutely some great sequences I could see happening in there. Also happening this Saturday, TJP, your current X Division champion, will be facing Rohit Raju and defending his X Division championship. And they've been going back and forth for quite some time. So again, I feel like that's also going to be a match to watch out for. Hernandez, someone we don't see wrestling that much, is going to be teaming up with Brian Myers to face Eddie Edwards and Matt Cardona. Which will be interesting to see. Again, Brian Myers and Matt Cardona used to be, tag partners in WWE. Now they're going to be on opposite sides of the ring. So that will be something interesting. Another one to know, Fire and Flava, which is Tasha Steelz and Kiera Hogan, are going to be defending the Knockouts tag team titles against Nevaeh and Havoc in a no DQ Texas Tornado match. And then also in tag team action, James Storm and Chris Sabin versus the Good Brothers versus Private Party for the Impact World Tag Team title. So as we alluded to earlier in the show, this may have implications for what we see next week on AEW Dynamite.
Yeah, it's exciting.
That's it. Lots
especially
to see.
tag team fans like me. Ugh.
Yes.
Yeah, I know.
Up next, we do have some New Japan news.
Yeah, we have a quick bit of news from New Japan. On last Friday's episode of New Japan Strong, we saw an incredible debut from luchador Rey Horus. You may know him as Dragon Azteca Jr. from Lucha Underground. He's also Rey Mysterio Sr.'s actual son. He used to wrestle as Io del Rey Mysterio, and he is a cousin to WWE's Rey Mysterio, the more common Rey Mysterio. But he is so good. He's fantastic. Yeah. And he defeated TJP in a really fun match. This was one of the most pure lucha matches I've ever seen in New Japan. It was fantastic. Rey Horus just looked dominant. They did so much aerial work. They were just fantastic. This was really sublime. New Japan usually books people that they're very high on to be very impressive in their debut. And that's what we got with this match. And it's a great sign for Rey Horus and his future in New Japan. They're kind of building a thing right now until we can have some more New Beginnings shows. And I really think he's going to be one of the top guys in Strong and New Beginnings, because if you saw this match, it was just incredible. I highly encourage everybody to check it out, especially if you're a fan of his work. One of the best I've seen in a long time in New Japan for certain. And like I say, a pure lucha match. You hardly ever see that in New Japan because they introduced some of the Japanese style, of course. But you had two guys here on the American side, recorded in America. Just fantastic. Highly recommended. And hopefully we get to see a lot more of Rey Horus. The New Japan Strong style seems to be kind of hungry for lucha action. Japan in general loves luchadors. So I'm really excited to see where this could kind of lead. It was shaky ground for a while with New Japan due to the international situation regarding quarantine and COVID and the pandemic, but New Japan have really gotten their footing in America now, and they've got a strong foundation in lucha to do it.
Yeah, they really did a nice job of leveraging the talent that is in America during this lockdown right now, and that includes these California and Texas luchadors that put into the program. And I mean, it was only a matter of time before somebody big picked up Rey Horus.
Yes, he's incredible. I'm surprised it took this long. And I really am. Like, I mean, I don't know how. I think he was determined to go more international than Mexico, and so that was part of the reason that he, kind of held out for a while. But this is an incredible sign for him. I want to see him in the lightweight, the junior heavyweight tournament against like Hiromu and, ELP, and like those are the guys I want to see. So it's exciting. I hope we get to see him work in Japan very soon.
Now, I can't say with 100% certainty, but he and ELP may have done some work together in the past because they're from a very similar region of the United States, and those people travel up and down a lot. But I wasn't specifically at that card, but I know that they've both worked in similar promotions at the same time on the West Coast. So there might be some hints of that out there, and I would be down there to see it.
Yeah, me too. I'm excited. And next up, we have some new news and some, Lio Rush, who is in New Japan Strong. He had some big news in MLW this week. Miranda, you want to tell us some more about that?
Yeah, I mean, we had a huge interpromotional championship bout between Laredo Kid, who was the AAA Cruiserweight champion. I mean, I don't want to spoil it for anyone.
Too late.
But too late. Versus MLW middleweight champion Lio Rush. This came after a successful title defense last week with Laredo Kid and him calling out Lio Rush. He wanted to have a chance at the middleweight championship, and so that led Lio Rush, of course, as the man who loves the camera, to come out and suggest this kind of interpromotional belt versus belt fight. And it was, the match itself was great. It started off, what I noticed as far as this match, it's starting off really, really fast. Different compared to the match we had previously with Laredo Kid and Senshi, where Laredo Kid took his time. This one, Laredo Kid went straight for Lio Rush, and Lio actually then took a step back, coming outside of the ring, kind of to collect himself. But they went tit for tat a lot through this match. Mm-hmm. It seemed like with kicks and real strong hits and strikes. But, the big things that came out of this match was, as the commentary noted, Laredo Kid got a flying forearm and a Michinoku driver. And instead of going for the cover, he went off the top rope twice. 2 moonsaults back to back. And Lio Rush kicked out. So, he could have had the pin with that driver, but went for those 2 top rope moonsaults, and seems that could have been his opportunity to win. But at the end of the day, Lio Rush hit his finishing maneuver the final hour and became the new AAA Cruiserweight champion. Mm-hmm. So he is now a dual champion, which is big when you think about it in the landscape of AAA, because now 3 of their major titles are held with people who are not kind of normally in their company. You have Kenny Omega as their Mega Campeon, Taya Valkyrie with the Reina de Reinas championship, and now Lio Rush as the AAA Cruiserweight champion. So, I mean, that too makes it wonder, how when are we going to see these titles defended? At this point, it may, Lio now is on the more regular television, and even he's in New Japan. He's now fighting in MLW. He's worked AAA. So you wonder, where is he going to show up next with both titles, and what does that look like defending them? I'm curious what your guys' thoughts as far as like the AAA titles now being held with people who, aren't currently wrestling for the company. Do you think that helps or hurts AAA?
I honestly think it helps. It may not be super common knowledge, but Lio Rush is actually signed with AAA. And so that's kind of, and Laredo Kid is independent. So it benefits AAA in the long run to have Lio Rush with that title. But in this pandemic era, and given everything we know about the lawsuit, I'm not sure that it was the best course of action as far as having it defended, but I think in the long run that having more eyes on them, at least American eyes on them when they can't be in America, kind of helps. Any promotion is good promotion.
Very true.
So I'm kind of in the same mindset that by being able to kind of bypass some of the areas of the lawsuit by having them appear on other shows. So MLW was responsible for all of the television on this, and sure, they mentioned that it was a AAA belt and they called it a title unification match, but MLW is the one that's doing all the distribution, which from my understanding bypasses most of the FMV contracting. So it's a good way to keep their brand alive here in America by having people working in the United States that can at times represent AAA. Like, so you can have Laredo Kid, who's an independent wrestler, pop up in multiple promotions and still be vaguely associated with AAA, and I think that's a good idea. Mm-hmm. I also think that they're kind of running kind of on the razor's edge with this, though, because if you look at it, as you mentioned, you have Taya, who hasn't appeared in AAA for a while as a champion. You have Kenny, who is working AEW as kind of his home, but I mean, he's also trying to work New Japan and AAA, so he's kind of, I mean, you know, sure, he's the hottest thing in wrestling right now, but he's also booked to the max, and they may never get to see that. And then a name that we didn't mention, but is also in the equation, is you have Vikingo, who has 2 more belts for them, and he's kind of on again, off again with them right now. So they could, if things go very badly for them, they could have to do a massive restructuring with their titles in the very near future, and that's just crazy talk.
Yeah, no, that's what led me to be very curious, you know, is the fact that we aren't seeing AAA titles very frequently, and is that going to ultimately hurt the titles? I mean, I think Dusty makes a good point as far as the visibility in the United States, and hopefully that helps attract more people to the product. But, you know, at the end of the day, when is too much, you know, and when are you going to make that pivot back? Is it going to be too long before people even forget about who these champions are? At least when you're kind of active fan base in Mexico, are they going to forget? And it's going to be then hard to reestablish those championships again.
Well, and AAA has a lot of titles, so it's easy to forget that, you know, I mean, Reina de Reinas is a little harder to forget, and the Mega Championship is really hard to forget, but
right,
this middleweight championship could just disappear tomorrow, and the majority of the AAA fans probably would never notice.
Yeah.
You've got a point.
Yeah, it's a good point. So we'll see how long this lasts. But again, it's a fantastic win for Lio Rush. I mean, his career continues to soar. And maybe we will see a rematch soon, and Laredo Kid gets the title back sooner rather than later. Who knows? But it's a pretty big moment for AAA, for Lio Rush, and for Lucha Libre, at least here in the States.
Yeah.
Also, real quick, on this week's episode of MLW Fusion, Zenshi had a rematch against Calvin Tankman, and that went exactly how you thought it would. 4 minutes pretty quickly. You know, the commentary played up that Zenshi really wanted to have another opportunity to prove himself against really a huge guy in Calvin Tankman. I just remember seeing this shoulder block that Calvin Tankman did where Zenshi flew halfway across the ring. I also think Zenshi was trying to do this reverse Rana over the top rope, and there was no way physics was going to allow that to happen. So it was kind of entertaining to kind of watch Zenshi, almost like some flailing spaghetti sometimes, in the way that Calvin Tankman would just push him, shove him, slap him, like just not have any momentum on his side. And Tankman won with, of course, the Tankman driver, and a pinfall. So, you know, what's next for Zenshi as well? I mean, he's already been defeated by Laredo Kid, now has 2 losses against Calvin Tankman. You know, you kind of wonder, what will be next for him, because they did talk about, his Lucha Libre background in Chile and also being a champion there. But either it's been a huge size disadvantage with his matches or fairly good competitive matches that he just doesn't win.
He just comes up short in. Yeah.
Yeah.
They need to do something with him for sure. But I appreciate that they have him there in that position, because he is a guy that's got enough experience that he can make those guys look good. Like, he made Tankman look really good.
Oh, yeah. His selling, is just phenomenal, though. That's why it was it reminded me of flailing spaghetti, because the way that he moved was really, really good. And again, he is really talented. One of the few luchadors they do have. And MLW is one of the products that really does have a great emphasis and respect for Lucha Libre. So, I feel like the main event helped show that, but you also want to have some of that consistency throughout the card. Speaking of, though, MLW, Filthy Island is coming to us very, very soon.
So good.
Tom Lawler's Filthy Island.
Yes.
And some matches have been announced for that. A very interesting match, though. I don't know. Talk about that triple threat revolver match, which I, piecemeal together. We have an Aztec jungle fight. Sabio Vega versus Mil Muertes. And this seems to be a response from Promociones Dorado, who made an overture to Sabio Vega to purchase IWA. This week he said, oh, hell no, no one's going to be buying IWA from me. And they said, okay, that's great. Well, then you're just going to face Mil Muertes in Aztec jungle fight.
Just like that. That's a thing now.
That's a thing now. Yes.
I like it.
I don't know what it is.
I wanted an Azteca Jungle match, but now I want it real bad.
As soon as the words Azteca Jungle match came out, I'm like, I need this in my life.
Yes. They are going to be on Filthy Island, so there's going to be some jungle scenery. I don't know what it's going to be like. Also announced Rocky Romero is going to be making his return to MLW. Though his opponent hasn't been announced yet, but it's going to be great to see him back in MLW. It's also been announced for the March 3rd episode that Los Parks was going to be putting their titles out on the line. They're going to be defending the World Tag Team Championships against Contra Unit. So this is going to be the second time we see them defend their titles since they won. So, if they're going to use some of that twin magic to retain, but it's also against Contra Unit, and they're not here to play. This is going to be the most serious fight that Los Parks will have faced in quite some time, especially as new tag team champions. So, that's coming up soon, of course. Then I believe next week, or at least the week after, is Filthy Island. So again, that's going to be entertaining as well. So, when we talk about all of the shows as being highly recommended and we watch, so of course MLW is on that list, and really it shows every major promotion, at least here in the U.S. this week, had some big Lucha Libre match, or a big moment, or a big debut, something. So I think it's a great week for U.S. Lucha Libre fans who, want to see that replicated throughout different promotions. But I have to say MLW is one of the more consistent ones, that you are getting great matches, but also the emphasis they have in Lucha Libre and storyline is done very, very well. One of the best in the entire business.
Yeah, absolutely. They're always at the forefront of giving us lucha content. One of the reasons we always make sure to watch the show so that we can tell you guys about it if you can't watch it yourself.
Yes, indeed. Yeah. Well, I know we ran through a lot of information, but that's it. Ladies and gentlemen, that is it for this week's Lucha Central Weekly podcast. Don't forget to check out luchacentral.com, your centralized place for all things Lucha Libre. You can also follow Lucha Central on social media, at Lucha Central on Facebook and Instagram, and at luchacentral.com on Twitter. Of course, you got to check out the YouTube page we mentioned earlier. Denise Salcedo's interviews are listed on there. Other interviews are put there, matches, and lots of great things on the Lucha Central YouTube page. And while you're at it, why don't you follow us on social media? Dusty, let the listeners know where they can find you.
Yeah, I am on Facebook at facebook.com/Dusty Murphy, and I am on Instagram at Dusty Murphy.
And Brendan, where can our listeners find you?
I am 321 T-shirt guy. That's the numbers 321 T-shirt guy all spelled out. I'm on Facebook. I'm on Instagram. And I'm extra super on the Twitters.
Yes, Brendan is our resident Twitter guy. You know why? Because he also takes messages from me, Miranda Morales, because I am not on Twitter. I am just on Facebook and Instagram at the #Miranda, hashtag spelled out. But if you want to reach out to someone on Twitter, go to @321 T-shirt guy. He is our resident Twitter expert. And then me and Dusty are usually on the gram.
Yes. Yeah, I love Instagram.
Yeah, we're on the gram. We're gram people. And that's Brendan. Always usually will say how much he's not on Instagram. So we can divide and conquer. That's what this team is about. That's what we do here at the Lucha Central Weekly podcast. We divide and conquer and give you all the news you need to know so that way you don't have to watch 17 shows in 1 week. Because that's a lot. Actually, that may be, hold on, let's count. So we have 3 WWE shows, 4 if you count NXT, MLW. Yeah. I mean, we're getting there. We're getting close. That's
yeah. Well, so yeah, you MLW, AEW, and then I usually watch 2 or 3 indie shows a week. So yeah. we're climbing up there.
Yes, we are.
Impact and then AAA.
New Japan.
New Japan.
So since I went and said it, I'm going to mention this again. Always looking for more indie stuff. So even if you are on Instagram where I'm not very responsive, you can send it to me or you can send it to Dusty or Miranda, but send me your indie matches. Yes. Right now I'm focusing on shows that are doing safe and sane stuff plus lucha content, but I mean, just tell me about your matches and I will watch them. I'm already to the point where I'm already watching 17 shows a week, so I'm just going to keep at it.
You just got to keep on going. That's true commitment. That's the commitment you get here at the Lucha Central Weekly podcast.
Absolutely.
Not only do we tell you what's happening on the big picture, we'll be covering the independents as well. So make sure you reach out to us on social media, at Dusty Murphy, at 321 T-shirt guy, at the #Miranda. Also, as you listen to the show, you may be listening. You're not watching, you're listening to the show on Spotify, on Google Play, on iTunes, on Podbay or Speaker. Make sure that you subscribe so that way you get notifications every time a new episode of the Lucha Central Weekly podcast drops. And rate and review. So leave us a 5-star rating and give us a review. Let us know your thoughts on the show, topics you think we should cover, things that you like, things that you don't like, whatever it is, let us know on social media or through your favorite podcast streaming platform. For Dusty Murphy and Brendan Barr, I'm Miranda Morales. Thank you all, and we will be back next week.